Hey YouTube, it's Sean, Griffin RC Planes. This is going to be part one of our AR636 receiver programming. And we're going to do it with the DX7S. And this is my foam board test demonstration RC airplane. All the control surfaces are a different color. So for reference points, for example, if I'm trying to show you something, I can say, hey, look at the right aileron, green. So we will first make sure we update the receiver to the latest firmware, and then we'll calibrate the gyro, and then we'll install it in the plane. I have a hard time saying that. We'll install it in the RC airplane, and then we'll go through the Spektrum app and just make sure that our control surfaces are going the right direction, and then I'll just point out a couple cool things inside the app, and that'll be all for this this video. Trying to keep them down to about 15 minutes each. That seems to work best for my my setup here and for you guys as well. So let's go to my computer, and first things first, we'll get all the firmware and stuff updated and the gyro calibrated. Alright, so we're going to plug up the receiver with the Spektrum program cable. I've got the Spektrum updater on the computer here, powering the cable, Alright, we're good to go. Alrighty, first things first here, we're going to go to the Spektrum website. You need to make sure you're logged in. My Spektrum, we're going to find our receiver that we're going to program and make sure we get the newest software for it. Here it is right here, download updates. Now we're gonna calibrate the gyro, and the way you do that is you need to find the oldest software and the newest. So scroll down to the bottom. Right here's the newest, 2.30. Some receivers have a 2.38. It depends if it's an A or a B or when it's made on what the newest and latest firmware there is for that particular receiver. We don't want any helicopter stuff. But down here, this 1.43. Whatever your oldest is for your AR636, download and save that to your desktop. And also download and save the newest to your desktop. Okay, now we're going to go to the Spektrum updater, not the programmer, updater. Okay, I have the Spektrum updater pulled up. Before I make it take up the entire screen, you can see right down here these two E's, Internet Explorers. This is the oldest firmware, and then this is the newest. Okay, so first we're going to take and put the oldest up here, and then we'll power the cable and power the cable. And you can see up here in the top left, it currently has the 2.30 in it, but we drug up the oldest. So let's install the oldest software into it. Alright, now I'm going to drag up the newest, which is right here. You just hold your left mouse button and just drag it up there to it, and you can see right here it says newest. Now let's install the newest. So now we've just done some drastic changes to the receiver, so we can go to the next step, which will be to calibrate the gyro. So now we're going to unpower, and we're going to pull up the Spektrum programmer. Alright, we're now in the Spektrum programmer. You want to make sure your receiver is sitting flat, because when we connect it, it's going to want to calibrate it immediately. So make sure it's sitting flat, level on your desk, and make sure your desk is not slanting downhill, because right now it's going to figure out where level is. Okay, so make sure it is sitting level on a level desk. Power the cable and power, and immediately it says calibration needed. So we'll click start, and this takes a little bit, a minute maybe. And you don't want to bump your desk at this time or move the receiver. Also, if you have something underneath your receiver like some double-sided sticky tape or a piece of Velcro, that could be making the receiver sit, a little cockeyed or something on your desk. You want to make sure you get that off. You want this receiver sitting flat, level. Or when we install it in the plane, the gyro is going to think it's level, perfect. So as soon as this is done, almost. All right, it says passed. Hit close. At this point, we're just going to use the devices settings because we've set it to we erased it all during our old firmware and new firmware. We'll go to dashboard, and you can see that everything is all zeros here, so there's nothing programmed in it at this time. So let's unpower the cable and head to the plane. Before we head to the plane to install the receiver, this is the default servo ports. Okay, that's what we're going to follow now. We can get more complicated at another time and do dual ailerons and so forth, but this is the default settings where we need to plug our servos. So we're going to install our receiver per the default setup, and we're going to make the pins towards the rear. And one of the very first settings we need to do inside the AS3X programmer app is to tell it the direction of the receiver. So double-sided sticky tape comes in a roll, many different flavors and choices. This servo up front is going to act as our motor, so we're going to plug that into port number 1, just like you would plug your electronic speed control in, or your servo to operate your gas or glow engine. Number 2 is the ailerons. I've got it set up on a Y harness, so one channel is going to control both wing ailerons. That's into channel 2. And then we have the elevator is number 3. The orange pin goes up. That's the signal wire. And then the rudder is channel 4. Quattro, I guess, dos, tres, quattro. And then we're going to run power from this little battery pack. We'll plug it into port 6, auxiliary 1. If I can get it lined up there, like that. And then I have a little extension here for the bind plug, just to make it a little easier, and that's going to go in the bind program data port. Just when we're hooking up the Bluetooth module and all that stuff, makes it easier. Alright, everything's plugged up. Channel 5 is nothing is in it. I've got the double-sided sticky tape. Now, the receiver has got to be mounted level, as in the plane is flying level. There's no way to adjust the angle of the receiver. So however the receiver is mounted, that's what the gyro knows as level. For example, if we mounted the receiver on an angle like this, then the plane would be flying level like this. Okay, so whatever bed you're putting the receiver down on has got to be level to level flight. So wherever you're mounting it, make sure it's level, just like the plane is flying level. And doesn't need to be crooked. It needs to be completely square. because this thing is so sensitive and so really cool and calibrated that if it's sitting crooked and on an angle, that's what it's going to think is level flight is. And then it needs to be stuck down really good. Vibrations from your engine or just anything. One of your landing gear wheels vibrating a little bit on takeoff, all those vibrations can travel back to the receiver, and it could think it's a little mini gust of wind, the vibration. So small, thin, double-sided tape down firm. If you use real thick tape, then it can still, wobble around, or a couple pieces of thick Velcro, then it can still be kind of loose, So some thin, double-sided tape works the best, and make sure it's down there really good. We need to start with a new model, so I'm holding the scroll wheel down and powering on the transmitter, and that will bring us to the system setup screen. Model select. I've already changed number 10 and named it 636 YouTube. So go down to model type, and it's an airplane, and I don't want to reset it because it'll lose the name I typed in. So over here to wing type, well, that wing type, we're going to do normal wing, normal tail. Switch select. We're going to leave everything in its default settings, but now's the time where you can change if you want the gear switch to be operated but by a different switch or something like at that point. And telemetry, we're just going to leave it for the receiver voltage and flight log because that's all this receiver has to offer. The frame rate, we're just going to leave it at the DX7S. And that is that. So now that we set up our model in the transmitter and we left everything default, we need to bind it. And since we're going to add safe select, we're going to bind it with the bind plug in, out, then bind. That way we're telling the receiver that we want safe select to be active using a switch to turn it off and on. So that way just everybody knows what we're doing, okay? Everybody, meaning the receiver, knows when we hook it up to the app and all that stuff. So let's just be on the same page while we can. So my bind plug is going in. Like so. I just powered our plane. I'm pulling the bind plug out, bind button, and turn on the transmitter. And it looks like it bound up. Maybe. Yep, we got lucky. The radio's got to be a couple feet away from the receiver to bind. But we got it on, and it did double dances, so that means safe select is going to be active using a switch to turn it off and on. So now's the point we need to find out if our control surfaces are all going the right direction. So throttle, if I give it throttle, the flag will move that way as a full throttle. Okay, the throttle channel is working correctly. Elevator, when I pull back on the stick, elevator should go up. Push forward on the stick, elevator should go down. So let's pull back. The elevator is backwards. So you need to take a mental note of this. We're going to reverse it in the programmer, not the transmitter. Rudder, when I move the stick to the left, the rudder should come to the left. When I move the stick to the right, the rudder should go to our right. So we're going to move it left. Rudder is backwards, okay? Elevator, rudder, we need to reverse. Ailerons, when I move the stick to the right, the green aileron should go up. When I move the stick to the left, red aileron should go up. So let's move the stick to the right. And our directions are good for the ailerons. So now we're going to connect to the Spektrum AS3X programmer app in my tablet, and we'll point out a couple cool things in there, and we'll reverse our elevator and our rudder. All right, we're going to connect our RC airplane to the Spektrum AS3X programmer app in my tablet. I'll show you guys all this on the screen in a minute. It's asking for permission to turn on the Bluetooth. Yes. We're going to turn on the transmitter and then the airplane. Let it get bound up. We need to reverse the rudder and the elevator. Let's do its dances. All right. And the app, hit the Bluetooth symbol, then horizon blue, and connect. It's connecting. Says it's reading the receiver. And do we want to take what's in the tablet and send it to the receiver, or the receiver to the tablet? We want receiver to the tablet. So I just tapped it. The bar graph is going. All right, we're golden. We need to go to settings. Okay, we need a reversed elevator and the rudder. So initial setup, surface setup, rudder. Okay, looky here. Okay, so rudder left, and it's wrong. Okay, I just reversed it on the tablet. Look at that. Elevator, when I push down, should go up, and it's backwards. So, backwards, right? Not anymore. So that's pretty cool how you can be connected to the tablet and bound up, all that stuff at the exact same time. Let's go show you guys this on the computer right now. We just reversed the direction of the elevator and the rudder, and I'll show you guys where we did that. So this is the AS3X programmer app on my tablet. Here in settings, initial setup, surface setup. Okay, tap on the elevator down here and you can see that it's reversed. It was normal before I changed it. And then, oop, I hit the wrong way. Then back to surface setup here to show you the rudder. That was the transmitter saying, hey, you haven't touched me in a little bit. The rudder, and you can see that's reversed as well because I reversed it. And we'll show you the ailerons that they're still normal. All right. Let me show you one other cool thing that I discovered in here, and that's going to be off video because it started to take up some time. Right here in gains and priority, I tapped on flight mode 1, okay? Just tap top left box up here, right in this area. You tap, see where it says ABS and relative? If you were to select relative, now you can have adjustable gains on your transmitter, on certain transmitters, not the DX7S, just like you can do with a smart receiver. Everybody learned something. I got cut off of there. I'm still learning all this fancy dancy recording and hooking tablets to computers and all that stuff. So when you change it from the ABS to relative, now you can adjust your gains on your transmitter just like you can with a smart receiver. Now let me tap on this question mark up here, and that's showing you how we can adjust all the gains, which we'll get into when we start doing more of the programming. But down here at the very bottom says, you know, the ABS absolute. Get my glasses on here. When the ABS is selected, the gain values that are programmed in the graph are fixed. Okay, the relative, when relative is selected, the gain values are adjustable from the transmitter. This allows flight gain adjustments. The DX6, the 9, the 10, the 18 features on the AS3X screen. Now, probably any transmitter now, you know, NX8 and DX6s and 8s and all that stuff, just anything but the silver transmitters except for the 18, you go into the telemetry screen and you find AS3X. So we'll do that when we do the setup on another transmitter. Well, all right, guys. Well, Simba said that that's all we got for this episode, part 1. That is all the time we got for it. We got to keep the videos down to, I'd like to stay below 15 minutes, but this one ran about 20. So that's all for the first portion of the 636 programming. I thought you guys might like how I found out that we can have adjustable gains with a 636. I always heard that was possible, and I just happened to figure it out this time. So we'll figure out a whole lot more about that at a later time. So that's that. Well, I thought he just fell down. Get your booty out of here. All right, guys. Hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you find any of my videos helpful, please subscribe if you haven't. Share them with your friends. And don't let your cat stick his booty in your face. And until next time, you'll see me here. He just wanted a little more camera time. Oh, Simba's. He knows he gets his loving in here. The other two family members of mine, they stay out of here. So this is his spot to get all the loving. All right, guys. Hey, thank you.